I want to prove myself that I'm good and then I can stay in this level.
There's a lot of expectations for us coming in. Despite being a Challenger team, we performed pretty well in Challenger, and we're going to look to live up to this expectation and perform well.
I belong in the LCS and I want to prove everyone wrong who says that I don't belong there. But I really think we can beat expectations.
I took a break and now it is really good to be back in LCS and I'm gonna give it all, that's for sure.
Stopping Nehud, he goes in, he got it still, he steps back, Nehud with the hero play! Have him in there, combo! The base! Leading the charge, the Nexus is destroyed, and Misfits dominate Game 2!
Week 2 of the LCS Spring Split. Last week, all of our teams made their first marks on the rifts for 2017. Some teams impressed, while others showed they still have some work to do to prove themselves. And as always, the unicorns have their suits on and are ready to go. Good evening. I'm EpicSkillshot supporter, joined by Andrew VODS Day and James Stress O'Leary. Isn't it wonderful? I mean, all the fans that come to the studio are amazing, but the unicorns of loved ones are always like, have the greatest costumes
passionate.
on.
I feel they definitely care about their team. And I mean, what a team to care about who've already excelled first week in the split.
Definitely so. And with 1 week of games completed, here is where the teams currently stand. As you mentioned already, the Unicorns of Love getting off to a flying start in Group B, and Jisoo Esports at the top of Group A.
I think the interesting thing is that a lot of these teams are in the places we had expected, but the standings don't always reflect a lot of how the games went. A lot closer a week 1 and for certain teams than we were actually expecting. So there's some of what you should keep your eyes on. We're going to go through over the next few minutes.
Yeah, and taking a quick look back at last week, as you said, besides the standings, what really stood out for you guys in the matches you've seen?
Well, for me, I feel like the biggest thing was the fact that Splyce really did underperform. We saw the consistency of G2. We saw H2K coming out with a brand new bot lane looking incredibly dominant. And then Splyce just seemed to really struggle against the pressure, given the amount of expectations that they had.
They did, and when we look at the other teams that were the top 3 of Europe from last split, G2 and H2K suffered none of those problems. They came out swinging last week. Maybe H2K a little slower than we would have liked, but by the time they faced down Splyce, they absolutely crushed them. Both were captains of the draft. Both look like they deserve to be top of their groups.
Yeah, definitely. Splyce come after a false start. We'll see what they can do. And after 1 week of competition, we also saw some drafting trends starting to emerge. Let's take a look at what we've seen. Ashe, Zyra, Rek'Sai, and Syndra, the most picked champions. Ashe and Zyra every single game.
It certainly is. It seems that in the current meta, utility AD carries are the way to go. Ashe and Varus, I hope you guys like that bottom lane because you're going to be seeing a lot of it for a while. And it's just paired up with the likes of aggressive supports like the Zyra, like the Malzahar. We've even seen some Syndra down the bottom lane over in the LCK. So there have been some crazy stuff down that bottom lane. I expect it to be just as aggressive moving forward.
And then other champions, you saw Rek'Sai on the most played. A lot of that is because of the bans. You now see on your screen so much in the way of Camille, Rengar, both banned away from being potential jungle picks. So we've seen them once or twice in their specific roles, but honestly, we're not seeing a lot of the Jace as well, the LeBlanc. Everything like that is kind of getting banned away by most teams.
What do you make of Perks on the analyst desk saying last week, I don't think LeBlanc is a must ban. I just think Rengar and Camille are.
Well, he says this, but he was the guy that played LeBlanc last week, and he was the guy that dominated and won all of his games on LeBlanc. So I definitely think LeBlanc, given the nerfs that she had a couple patches ago, did hurt her laning phase. And she is a champion that Stress was talking about during All-Stars, where she is kind of snowballing, and if she doesn't get that lead, she can struggle. But we'll have to see what teams can bring out to act as a counter for it.
Indeed, we will see. And this week is extended for the EU LCS. We'll be broadcasting 4 days instead of 3. And here's a look at what's coming up. Some super exciting matches, starting off with the Unicorns of Love versus OG and a lot on their plate. Which matchup is the highlight?
I mean, I think the highlight has to be on Saturday. Unicorns versus H2K, our match of the week, is such a big game. And you pair that with Misfits G2. Saturday is jam-packed full of great European LCS action.
Yeah, match of the week for the Unicorns of Love, but they're also going to take to the stage right now. So let's dive into our first matchup of the week, where Origin will be taking on those unique Unicorns of Love. The Unicorns of Love, they've made it to playoffs, well, for 3 splits now. It's their 5th split. It is their 3rd season at the start. Is this the best start we've seen of them so far with that 2-0 versus Vitality?
Personally, I think it is, simply because a lot of the times in the past, we have criticized the Unicorns and said, these guys are looking weak. They're looking like a bottom-of-the-table team, but that was not the expectations coming in, and they have come out with a statement in their first game. Not only did they let some of the OPs through and get some of the OPs themselves, but they have been playing uniquely with great innovation and with fantastic teamwork.
And it's not just the picks and bans phase that has been a strong point for them as well. We look at the individual players, and while the Unicorns, they've been plagued for splits after split after split with, you know, jungle changes. This time Xerxes comes out. He put on a fantastic performance in Game 1 and Game 2. Honestly, looked really strong after his days in the TCL. And, you know, you heard it at the beginning of the day. He wants to become more than just a regional player. He wants to actually stand out on an international stage. So we'll see whether he can reach those highs. Game 1, Week 1 was great.
It was great for him, indeed. A fantastic start for the Unicorns of Love. Well, showing, hey, those expectations, we're going to start having them from the beginning of the split and playing well. Let's look at the team they're playing. OG. We asked the guys here on the desk, how are they going to perform? Everyone kind of agreed it's going to be a struggle against relegation. Are we ready to change that opinion after their opening set versus H2K?
No, I don't think anyone, based on what we've seen from them so far, they are still, in my eyes, a challenger team. We talked about it in Week 1, where this is a roster full of players that have all come from challenger from different regions. And to be honest, what we saw from them last week was very much that. Mechanically, they look okay, but in terms of mid-game decision-making and their ability to move around the map, it isn't there.
So a challenger team, you have, you know, Splice was a challenger team. They did great in the LCS. G2 was a challenger team, but I feel like they could hold their own versus H2K for at least the early game, solo queue style. So is that not selling them a bit short?
I think in splits gone by, it would be. And the reason for this is the group change. This is why we still say they're fighting for that relegation spot or to get away from it. In days gone by, you'd have teams like Rockats, like Giants, that you're able to pick up points or wins over. However, with only 5 teams in the group, realistically, Origin can only try and take points off Vitality that you would think would be a close game. Unless Splice stay at the position they're at, Origin don't have many guaranteed wins left in this group stage, and they've got to pick up wins somehow, and they just don't seem to be on the level as H2K and Origin. That is tough competition.
H2K and the Unicorns, which they're playing right now. So prediction-wise, I feel like you guys are nudging towards the Unicorns quite heavily.
Yeah, I would think this should be a fairly convincing 2-0 from the Unicorns. And I think that we should actually see a bit more meta stuff from them today, because I think they're going to be saving more of the interesting and unique picks for some of the stronger competition.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think 2-0 Unicorns, they look strong Week 1. If they can stay at the same level, Origin shouldn't be too much of a problem.
All right, a harsh opinion from our analysts on OG. We can see if they can turn it around and if they can show up against the Unicorns today as we hand it over to our casters.